The shaking comes without warning. It's 3:17 a.m., and I'm staring at the hairline cracks snaking across the garage ceiling, each one a testament to the slow, agonizing erosion of my sanity. The tremor starts deep inside, a volcanic rumble of anger and disbelief, and then it explodes outwards, making my hands tremble and my teeth chatter. How did I let it get this far? Me, Clara, 27 years old, senior software engineer, potential homeowner, reduced to sleeping on a threadbare carpet in a converted garage while rats hold noisy conferences in the walls. It's not just the physical degradation, it's the crushing weight of the emotional betrayal, the decades of ingrained favoritism that have finally fractured something inside me. This isn't a simple story. It's a decades-long saga of family dysfunction, a twisted narrative of golden children, scapegoats, and the insidious poison of financial manipulation. To understand how I ended up here, exiled to the garage, you have to go back, way back. I was born in '96. My mom, Diane, calls those the simple years. For the first 3 blissfully ignorant years of my life, I was their sun, their moon, their everything. I have hazy, sun-drenched memories of my dad, George, tossing me in the air, his booming laugh echoing in the garden. Mom, with that bulky camcorder permanently glued to her hand, capturing every giggle, every wobbly step. There's a single, dog-eared photo album from that time, maybe 20 pictures total. The corners softened with love. Then came Evelyn. The shift was tectonic. From the moment Evelyn was born, everything tilted on its axis. The camcorder found a new, permanent home pointed at her crib. I've got maybe a handful of faded Polaroids from my entire childhood. Evelyn has albums, plural, dedicated to her every milestone. First tooth? Page 1. First time she managed to smear pureed carrots across her face. 2-page spread. Mom even started a blog. Evelyn's Sweet Journey. 6 years of relentless documentation. From her first steps to her meticulously curated kindergarten outfits. Growing up, the discrepancies were subtle at first, almost invisible if you weren't paying attention. Evelyn got the new clothes, the ones with the tags still crisp. I got the hand-me-downs, the faded jeans with the reinforced knees, the t-shirts that smelled faintly of someone else's detergent. Evelyn got ballet lessons, gymnastics, the full spectrum of extracurricular activities that screamed potential. I was told, with a sigh and a rueful look, that we just can't afford it this year, sweetie. Evelyn struggled with math. A private tutor magically appeared, ready to drill her until the concepts stuck. I struggled? I was handed a stack of library books and told to figure it out. I adapted, learned to be invisible, to be self-sufficient. By 13, I was teaching myself to code on a second-hand laptop I'd bought with birthday money from Grandma Helen, the only person in our orbit who seemed to see me as something more than just the other one. God, I miss her. She's the only reason I'm not completely swallowed by this guilt. High school amplified the disparity into a deafening roar. When Evelyn started, my parents remortgaged the house to send her to the prestigious Crestwood Academy. She needs the best, Mom declared, her eyes shining with fervent conviction. She's gifted. Meanwhile, the first went to Northwood High, the local public school, a brick building with peeling paint and a perpetually malfunctioning heating system. I worked part-time at Kroger, stocking shelves and dealing with entitled customers, just to pay for my own school supplies, my textbooks, the bus fare. Despite this, I aced every class. Straight A's, National Honor Society, the whole shebang. I taught myself 3 programming languages, started freelancing, building websites for local businesses. My accomplishments were met with a sort of bemused indifference. "That's nice, Clara," Dad would say, patting me on the head absently before turning back to Evelyn, who was regaling them with tales of Crestwood's rigorous academic program translation. She was complaining about her calculus homework. College was the ultimate slap in the face. I got a full scholarship to State University for computer science. Free ride. No debt. The kind of opportunity most kids would kill for. Instead of being proud, my parents seemed almost disappointed. State? Mom said, her voice laced with a subtle disapproval. Couldn't you have tried a little harder to get into somewhere more prestigious? Meanwhile, they took out massive loans, mortgaging their future to the hilt, to send Evelyn to an Ivy League school. Because, of course, she deserves the best education possible. I graduated early, landed a killer job at Quantum Tech, a major tech company, and started clawing my way up the corporate ladder. Evelyn changed her major 3 times, took 6 years to graduate, and spent most of her time documenting her meticulously curated college experience on Instagram. Every time my parents called, it was to gush about Evelyn's latest spring break adventure in Cancun, or her internship at Uncle Richard's company, an internship she landed purely through nepotism and family connections. Mind you, 3 years ago, everything truly went to hell. I was just settling into my new role as senior software engineer, finally feeling like I was making something of myself, when I received a call. It was Mom, her voice choked with tears. The recession had hit hard. Dad's real estate business was tanking, and they were 3 months behind on their mortgage payments. The bank was threatening foreclosure. I remember sitting in my sleek, minimalist apartment that night, the city lights glittering outside my window, staring at my bank account. I'd been saving for a down payment on my own house, my own life. But hearing Mom cry, hearing the desperation in her voice, I couldn't let them lose their home. So I did it. I stepped in. I started paying their $2,400 monthly mortgage, plus utilities, property taxes, and homeowner's insurance. The grand total came to almost $3,500 a month. To manage, I took on weekend consulting gigs, sacrificing my precious free time, and ruthlessly cut back on my own expenses. For a while, things were manageable. I even moved back home to save on rent, swallowing my pride and taking my old bedroom upstairs. The family dinners remained a constant, low-grade torture, filled with endless praise for Evelyn's non-existent career prospects and thinly veiled criticisms of my workaholic lifestyle. But I had my own space, my work, my sanity, mostly. I even started therapy, secretly, to deal with the lingering trauma of my childhood and the constant, gnawing feeling of inadequacy. Then came last week. Evelyn graduated, finally, and announced with a theatrical flourish that she was moving back home to focus on her job search. My parents, of course, were ecstatic. Mom spent thousands, which I later realized came directly from my utility payments, redecorating Evelyn's old room. New furniture, premium bedding, even a mini fridge and a Keurig coffee station. Because apparently, Evelyn needs her space to be perfect for this crucial transition in her life. But apparently that wasn't enough. Yesterday, they called a family meeting in the living room. Mom was practically bouncing with excitement. Dad looked deeply uncomfortable, like a man being led to the gallows. And Evelyn had that same smug, self-satisfied smile she's worn since we were kids. The one that says, "I've already won, honey," Mom began, her voice overly sweet. "We need to discuss some changes around here." "Evelyn is entering a crucial phase in her life," Mom continued, her eyes fixed on my sister as if she were a delicate orchid that needed constant sunlight. "She's applying to top consulting firms. First impressions are everything. She needs a proper space to prepare for interviews, to launch her career." I felt a familiar knot forming in my stomach. The same feeling I got when they forgot my high school graduation because Evelyn had a dance recital. The same feeling I got when they dismissed my scholarship as just state. "We've decided," Mom announced, her voice taking on a tone that brooked no argument, "that Evelyn will take the master bedroom. Your father and I will move to your room." She paused, as if expecting applause. I must have looked something. Horrified? Disbelieving? Because Dad quickly jumped in, his face flushed with a mixture of guilt and nervous energy. "We fixed it up real nice, Clara," he said, his voice a little too loud. "Put in drywall, added a space heater, even installed a small bathroom. It's like a studio apartment. A studio apartment. Let me tell you about this lovely space. It's a converted two-car garage. The concrete floor is covered by the thinnest, cheapest carpet known to mankind, the kind that feels like sandpaper on your bare feet. One tiny window permanently sealed shut, pretty sure that's a fire code violation. Visible pipes snaking across the ceiling, dripping condensation at random intervals. A bathroom that's basically a toilet, and a shower head crammed into a closet. No insulation whatsoever. I can literally feel the draft whistling through the cracks in the walls. A space heater that trips the circuit breaker if you dare to run it above low. The lingering smell of motor oil and Dad's old fishing gear. Bonus feature, I can hear every single car that drives by as if I'm sleeping on the street. But, I stammered, trying to find my voice amidst the rising tide of disbelief. But I'm paying your mortgage. The words hung in the air, heavy and accusatory. Mom's response floored me. It was delivered with a sickeningly sweet smile, the kind that makes my teeth ache. "Well, sweetheart," she said, her voice dripping with condescension, "you should be grateful. We're giving you a place to stay while you get back on your feet." Get back on my feet? I make $175,000 a year. Base salary, plus bonuses, plus consulting income. I'm literally keeping a roof over their heads. Evelyn chimed in then, her voice dripping with that familiar saccharine venom. "Don't be so dramatic, Clara," she said, lounging back on the brand new MacBook our parents had bought her as a graduation gift. The same parents who couldn't afford to help me buy a decent laptop for college. "You're always going on about minimalism and simple living. Now you can practice what you preach. The past week has been a living nightmare. I'm writing this from my new room, wrapped in every blanket I own because the temperature drops to near freezing at night. I can hear them upstairs, having their nightly family dinners, the clinking of silverware, the murmur of voices, the laughter. I'm never invited anymore. Apparently, Evelyn needs quality time with Mom and Dad to discuss her career plans. Yesterday, I overheard Evelyn complaining that the master bathroom's heated floors weren't working properly. The heated floors that I unknowingly paid to install last winter when Mom claimed they needed urgent plumbing repairs. I called Lisa, my best friend, in tears last night. She's been witnessing this toxic dynamic since we were kids, and she finally snapped. "Are you kidding me, Clara?" she yelled, her voice cracking with outrage. "You're paying $3,500 a month to live in a garage while your unemployed sister gets the master suite? That's not just favoritism, that's financial abuse." She helped me look up apartments online. I found an amazing place downtown, floor-to-ceiling windows, in-unit laundry, a 24-hour gym, and actual heating. All for less than what I'm paying for my parents' mortgage. But every time I think about signing the lease, the guilt crushes me. Mom keeps saying, "Family helps family. Blood is thicker than water." Dad reminds me with a sigh of how much they sacrificed for my education, a scholarship, people. A scholarship! Evelyn makes passive-aggressive comments about how some people only think about themselves. This morning, something inside me finally snapped. I was shivering in my bedroom, listening to a rat family having breakfast in the walls, when Evelyn walked by the garage door. She was on the phone with a friend, laughing about how she's saving so much money living at home, and she might travel around Europe for a few months before she even thinks about starting her job search. That's when I opened my laptop and signed the lease for the downtown apartment. Am I being unreasonable? Should I just accept that this is my role in the family, the responsible one, the one who sacrifices everything while Evelyn gets the best of everything? Should I move out and stop paying their mortgage? Evelyn keeps talking about all these high-paying consulting jobs she's going to get. Maybe she can step up. The response to my post was unexpected. A tidal wave of support, validation, and shared experiences. I spent hours reading the comments, tears streaming down my face, realizing I wasn't alone. I wasn't crazy. My feelings were valid. To those asking about Grandma Helen, yes, she knew. She tried to help in her own way. She left me a small inheritance when she passed, specifically stating in her will that it was because she wanted to balance the scales. My parents, of course, convinced me to loan them that money for Evelyn's final year of college. I never saw a penny of it back. Guilt is a powerful weapon. Then came the update. The moment of truth. I did it. I signed the lease. I hired movers. And then I waited. The sound of the moving truck pulling up to the curb was the sweetest, most vindicating sound I'd ever heard. I could feel the vibrations through the concrete floor, a low rumble of impending liberation. All hell broke loose. Mom started crying, those big theatrical sobs that she always deployed when she wasn't getting her way. "How could you do this to us, Clara?" she wailed, clutching her chest dramatically. "After everything we've done for you." Dad tried the guilt trip, his voice heavy with disappointment. "Think about our financial situation, honey," he pleaded. "Think about what this will do to us." And Evelyn's reaction was priceless. Her face twisted into a mask of pure, incandescent rage. "You're ruining everything, Clara," she shrieked, her voice cracking. "How am I supposed to focus on my job search now? Do you know how expensive this area is? How could you be so selfish?" I stayed calm, amazingly, terrifyingly calm. A serene detachment settled over me, like a layer of ice forming over a raging sea. "Well," I said, my voice steady and even, as you both always say, family helps family. "I'm sure Evelyn can help now, since she's the priority after all. She's about to get a high-paying consulting job, right?" The look on their faces was worth every penny I'd spent on their mortgage. Evelyn turned pale, her carefully constructed facade crumbling before my eyes. She started stammering about how she needs time to establish herself and can't possibly take on such responsibility right now. Dad looked like he'd been punched in the gut. Mom's tears dried up instantly, replaced by a hard, calculating stare. The game was up. As the movers hauled my belongings out of the garage, I stood there, watching them, feeling lighter than I had in years. I didn't react to the hateful words tossed around. I was finally free. My new apartment. The first night here was surreal. I walked from room to room, touching the smooth surfaces, running my hands over the sleek appliances, marveling at the sheer, unadulterated space. I actually cried when I turned on the heat, and it worked. No rats, no drafts, no car noises, just peace. Quiet. I ordered takeout, a ridiculous amount of sushi, and ate it sitting on the floor, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, gazing out at the glittering cityscape. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was breathing clean air. My parents have called 126 times. Yes, I'm keeping count. They've left voicemails ranging from tearful pleading to angry accusations. Sarah sent me a novel-length text message, a rambling screed about how I'm tearing the family apart and being unbelievably selfish. I blocked them all. Every single one. The weight that had been pressing down on me for so long, the invisible chains of obligation and guilt, finally snapped. I was free. I know it won't be easy. I know there will be repercussions. But for the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself. I've started therapy with someone who specializes in family trauma and financial abuse. It's already helping me understand how deeply dysfunctional my family dynamic has been. I'm learning about terms like parentification, golden child syndrome, and financial gaslighting. It's terrifying and liberating all at once. And the karma. Oh, the karma is real. I just got another promotion at work. Engineering manager. Significant pay raise. When I got the news, my first instinct was to call my parents, to share my success, to finally earn their approval. But then I stopped myself. Instead, I called Lisa and my new therapy group. We celebrated with champagne in my new apartment, toasting to freedom and self-respect. And not once, not for a single second, did anyone make me feel guilty for my success. This is my life now. My space. My rules. I never expected my post would change my life so dramatically. So much has happened since I moved out. It feels like I'm living a different life. First, the professional front. I've been thriving in my new role as engineering manager. My team just launched a major project that caught the attention of several tech publications. The best part? I didn't have to downplay my success or worry about making Evelyn feel bad. It's pure, unadulterated pride. Speaking of Evelyn, reality finally hit her hard. After 6 months of job searching, aka posting LinkedIn inspirational quotes, and attending the occasional networking event, she had to take an entry-level position at a local marketing firm, the same firm that rejected me for an internship years ago because I lacked the right connections. The irony is delicious. The house situation got messy. My parents couldn't keep up with the payments, obviously. They tried everything. Refinancing denied. Reverse mortgage didn't qualify. Even a GoFundMe campaign. My aunt, bless her heart, accidentally on purpose, I suspect shared it with the entire extended family, complete with a link to my original Reddit post. The backlash was spectacular. Let's just say, financial abuse doesn't play well with online donors. Then came the legal drama. Their lawyers' demands about a verbal contract evolved into a full-blown lawsuit. They claimed I had abandoned my familial duties and demanded I either resume payments or pay them a lump sum for emotional distress. My lawyer countered with a detailed spreadsheet of every payment I'd made, plus interest, and suggested we could discuss repayment of my grandmother's inheritance while we were at it. The case was thrown out so fast the judge literally sighed with relief. The family dynamic has shifted dramatically. Several cousins, who reached out after my initial post, formed a support group. Turns out, Evelyn's golden child status had created ripples throughout the entire family. We meet monthly now, sharing stories and healing together. Last week, my cousin Emma revealed she'd been pressured to turn down a scholarship because Evelyn needed help with tuition. The patterns run deep. My book about golden child syndrome is coming along nicely. A publisher actually reached out after seeing my story go viral. They're particularly interested in the financial abuse aspect, as it's apparently more common than anyone realizes. I'm including anonymous stories from other survivors, and the manuscript is already longer than expected. It feels important. The most surprising development? Dad showed up at my apartment last week. Alone. For the first time in my life, he looked defeated. He admitted they'd always favored Evelyn because she seemed to need more help. Classic enabling behavior, my therapist would say. He asked if we could try to rebuild our relationship, just the two of us. I said I'd think about it. I'm not ready to forgive, but maybe. Maybe there's a sliver of hope for something resembling a normal father-daughter relationship. Evelyn's response to all this has been telling. She's been posting passive-aggressive TikToks about ungrateful siblings and the importance of family loyalty. Her latest masterpiece? A tearful video about how some people don't understand that parents have to make hard choices. The comments weren't quite as sympathetic as she expected. Turns out, people are pretty savvy when it comes to manipulative sob stories. Mom still sends weekly emails, each one a masterclass in manipulation. They range from, "I'm having health issues, she's fine too," "I found your old baby photos too late," to "Sarah misses you so much doubtful." I've set up filters to archive them automatically. I refuse to let her emotional blackmail work. The best development? I'm dating someone. His name is Ben. He's a software architect I met at a tech conference. And get this, he has a similar family background. On our third date, we stayed up all night sharing stories about our golden child siblings, the constant comparisons, the crushing expectations. He gets it. He really gets it. To find someone who understands, who doesn't dismiss my experiences as family drama, is a gift beyond measure. My new apartment has become everything I dreamed of. I've filled it with plants, art, and absolutely zero rats. I bought myself a ridiculously expensive coffee maker, just because I could. Every morning, I sit by my floor-to-ceiling windows, drinking my fancy coffee, and remind myself that I deserve this peace. Last week, I received a letter from my grandmother's old lawyer. Apparently, she left a second letter to be delivered 5 years after her death, right around now. In it, she wrote that she always saw what was happening and tried to protect me in her own way. She ended with words I now have framed on my wall. Your worth isn't measured by how much you give to those who drain you. It's measured by how well you learn to fill your own cup first. To everyone who supported me 6 months ago, thank you. You gave me the courage to choose myself. To everyone still trapped in similar situations, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes, family isn't who you're born to. It's who you choose to become. The thought of rebuilding a relationship with Dad gnawed at me. It wasn't a burning desire, more like a persistent ache, a dull throb of what could have been. He'd called a few times since that first visit, his voice tentative, almost pleading. Each conversation felt like walking across a rickety bridge, testing each plank before daring to put my weight on it. He started small, asking about work, about the apartment. He even complimented my coffee maker. Small talk, polite, cautious, a far cry from the booming, dismissive dad I'd grown up with. Then he started reminiscing about my childhood, sharing stories I'd almost forgotten. The time I'd built a fort out of blankets in the living room, the camping trip where I'd caught my first fish. But even those memories were tainted, overshadowed by the unspoken truth. Those moments were the exception, not the rule. One Sunday, he asked if I'd be willing to have lunch with him, just the two of us. I hesitated, my gut churning with apprehension. Where? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. There's a diner near the park, he said. Remember? The one we used to go to when you were little, the diner. Benny's. It was a small, greasy spoon place with red vinyl booths and the best milkshakes in town. We hadn't been there in years. The memory surprisingly warmed me. I agreed. The lunch was awkward. We sat across from each other, surrounded by the comforting aroma of bacon and coffee, but a chasm of unspoken words stretched between us. He told me about his struggles to keep his business afloat, the mounting debt, the fear of losing everything. I listened, my heart a complicated mix of pity and resentment. He was finally facing the consequences of his actions, but a part of me couldn't shake the feeling that he was still playing the victim. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, his eyes filled with a weariness I'd never seen before. I'm proud of you, Clara, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I should have told you that a long time ago. I was blind. The words hit me hard, an unexpected blow to the chest. They were simple, yet profound. It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was a start. Thank you, Dad, I managed to say, my voice trembling slightly. We ate in silence for a few minutes, the clatter of dishes and the murmur of conversations filling the void. Then he asked about the book. Writing the book was both cathartic and excruciating. Pouring my story onto the page, reliving those moments of pain and humiliation, was a brutal exercise in self-excavation. But it was also empowering. I was taking control of my narrative, reclaiming my voice. The anonymous stories from other survivors poured in, each one a testament to the insidious nature of family dysfunction. There were tales of emotional manipulation, financial exploitation, and the silent, corrosive effects of favoritism. I felt a profound sense of connection to these strangers, a shared understanding that transcended our individual experiences. But the process was also draining. I found myself constantly second-guessing myself, wondering if I was exaggerating, if I was being unfair to my parents. The guilt, that persistent, unwelcome guest, kept trying to worm its way back in. Ben was my rock. He listened patiently as I vented my frustrations, offering unwavering support and gentle encouragement. He reminded me that I wasn't writing a revenge memoir, but a story of survival and healing. He helped me see that my experiences, however painful, could offer hope and validation to others. He also understood the unique challenges of writing about family. "It's like you're holding a live wire," he said one night, as I struggled to write a particularly difficult chapter. "You have to be careful not to shock yourself, but you also have to channel that energy into something meaningful." He was right. I needed to find a way to balance my anger with compassion, to acknowledge the complexities of my family without excusing their behavior. One afternoon, I was stuck, staring blankly at the screen, unable to write a single word. Frustration mounted, and I felt a familiar wave of self-doubt wash over me. Ben found me hunched over my laptop, my face buried in my hands. He gently pulled me away from the screen and led me to the window. "Look," he said, pointing to the cityscape below. "All those lights, all those buildings. Each one represents a story, a life. Yours is just one of them. Don't let it overwhelm you." He wrapped his arms around me, and I leaned into his embrace, drawing strength from his calm presence. "Just write, Clara," he whispered. "Write your truth." My mom, Diane, hadn't given up. The emails kept coming, a relentless barrage of guilt trips and veiled threats. I continued to archive them, refusing to engage, but the sheer volume was unsettling. It was like she was trying to chip away at my resolve, wearing me down with sheer persistence. Then came the unexpected visit. I was working from home one afternoon when the buzzer rang. I glanced at the security monitor. Diane stood there, looking small and vulnerable in the harsh sunlight. My first instinct was to ignore it, to pretend I wasn't home. But something made me hesitate. A flicker of curiosity? A morbid fascination? I buzzed her in. She entered the apartment, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and resentment. She took in the floor-to-ceiling windows, the sleek furniture, the carefully curated art. "This is nice," she said, her voice flat. It wasn't a compliment. It was an accusation. I didn't say anything, just gestured for her to sit down. She perched on the edge of the sofa, her back stiff, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "I don't understand you, Clara," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to destroy our family?" "I'm not trying to destroy anything, Mom," I said, my voice calm but firm. "I'm just trying to live my life." "But at what cost?" she asked, her eyes filling with tears. "You're hurting us? You're hurting your sister." "And what about me, Mom?" I asked, my voice rising slightly. "What about the years of being ignored, of being treated like I wasn't good enough? Did you ever think about how that might be hurting me?" She looked away, her face etched with pain. "We did what we thought was best," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "We just wanted Evelyn to be happy." "And what about my happiness?" I asked, my voice cracking. Didn't I deserve to be happy too? She didn't answer. She couldn't answer. The truth was too painful, too damning. She stood up abruptly, her face flushed. "I can't do this," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "I just can't." She turned to leave, then stopped at the door. "I brought you something," she said, her voice barely audible. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small, worn envelope. She handed it to me, her fingers brushing against mine. "It's from your grandmother," she said. "I found it in her things after she died." I didn't know she wrote it. She turned and walked out of the apartment, leaving me standing there, holding the envelope, my heart pounding in my chest. I waited until she was gone, until the elevator doors closed behind her, before I dared to open it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded neatly in half. The handwriting was familiar, Grandma Helen's elegant script, slightly shaky but still legible. "My dearest Clara, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you more. I tried in my own way to balance the scales, but it was never enough. I know what's been happening. I see the favoritism, the neglect, the subtle ways they undermine your confidence. Don't let them. You are strong, Clara. You are intelligent, and you are worthy of love and respect. Never forget that. Never let anyone tell you otherwise. I love you, Grandma Helen." Tears streamed down my face as I read the letter, the words a balm to my wounded soul. It was like she was reaching out from beyond the grave, offering me the comfort and validation I had so desperately craved. I clutched the letter to my chest, feeling a surge of strength and resolve. I wasn't alone. I had Grandma Helen's love, Ben's support, and the unwavering belief in myself. I was ready to finish the book. I was ready to heal, and I was ready to build a life that was truly my own. The book launch was surreal. After months of toil and turmoil, Golden Chains, Breaking Free from Family Dysfunction, was finally out in the world. I stood on a small stage in a local bookstore, facing a crowd of people I didn't know, my heart pounding in my chest. Lisa was there, of course, beaming with pride. Ben stood in the back, his presence a quiet reassurance. And surprisingly, Dad was there too. He sat in the front row, his face etched with a mixture of nervousness and support. Mom and Evelyn were conspicuously absent. I read excerpts from the book, sharing my story and the stories of other survivors. The silence in the room was palpable, broken only by the occasional sniffle. I could feel the weight of their experiences, their pain, their hope. After the reading, I signed books, talking to people, listening to their stories. So many had experienced similar forms of family dysfunction. The insidious poison of favoritism, the crushing weight of expectations. They told me how my book had given them hope, how it had helped them feel less alone. One woman, her eyes filled with tears, told me that she had finally decided to cut off contact with her toxic family after reading my book. "You gave me the courage to choose myself," she said, her voice trembling. "Thank you." That moment, more than any other, validated everything I had done. The pain, the struggle, the self-doubt. It was all worth it. The book became a surprising success. It climbed the bestseller lists, was featured in several major publications, and sparked a national conversation about family dynamics. I received countless emails and messages from people all over the world, sharing their stories, seeking advice, and expressing gratitude. I became an advocate, a voice for the voiceless. I spoke at conferences, gave interviews, and started a foundation to support survivors of family dysfunction. I was using my pain to help others heal. The book also changed my relationship with Dad. He started attending therapy, working through his own issues, and trying to understand the impact of his actions. It wasn't easy, but he was making an effort. We started spending more time together, going for walks, having dinners, talking about things other than family drama. He was becoming the father I had always longed for, a supportive, loving presence in my life. Mom and Evelyn, however, remained estranged. They refused to acknowledge their behavior, clinging to their narrative of victimhood. I made peace with the fact that I might never have a relationship with them. One day, Ben proposed. We were on a hike in the mountains, surrounded by breathtaking scenery, the air crisp and clean. He got down on one knee, pulled out a ring, and asked me to spend the rest of my life with him. I said yes, without hesitation. Our wedding was small and intimate, a celebration of love and healing. Dad walked me down the aisle, his eyes filled with tears. Lisa was my maid of honor, and Ben, my rock, my anchor, stood waiting for me at the altar. As I looked into his eyes, I knew that I had finally found my true family, a family built on love, trust, and mutual respect. I had broken free from the golden chains that had bound me for so long. I had healed from the wounds of my past, and I had created a life that was truly my own. The cracks in the ceiling were gone, the rats had moved on, and I was finally, truly free. 5 years have passed since the book launch. 5 years of healing, growth, and unexpected blessings. Life isn't perfect, it never is, but it's authentic. It's mine. Ben and I bought a small house in the suburbs, a cozy haven filled with laughter, books, and the occasional chaotic flurry of our 2 rescue dogs. We're thinking about starting a family, a daunting prospect given my own upbringing, but I know I can break the cycle. I'm armed with awareness, therapy, and a partner who understands the importance of creating a nurturing environment. The foundation I started, Golden Threads, has expanded beyond my wildest dreams. We provide resources and support to survivors of family dysfunction, offering therapy scholarships, legal aid, and a vibrant online community. It's incredibly rewarding to see the impact we're having, helping others navigate the complexities of toxic family relationships and reclaim their own lives. My relationship with Dad continues to evolve. He's made significant progress in therapy, confronting his own childhood traumas and taking responsibility for his past behavior. He's not perfect, and we still have our moments of tension, but our connection is genuine. He's become a supportive grandfather to our dogs, showering them with affection and sneaking them treats behind my back. Mom and Evelyn remain a closed chapter. I've accepted that they may never change, and I've learned to detach with love. I occasionally see updates on social media, carefully curated snapshots of their seemingly perfect lives. It doesn't trigger me anymore. I know their reality is far different from the image they project. One day, I received a message from a young woman who had read my book. She had grown up in a similar dynamic, with a golden child sibling and a neglectful parent. She had been struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts, feeling trapped and hopeless. But after reading my book, she said something shifted. She realized she wasn't alone. She started therapy, joined the Golden Threads community, and began to build a support system. "You saved my life," she wrote. "Your story gave me hope when I had none. Thank you for showing me that I could break free." That message, more than any award or accolade, made me realize the true power of my story. It wasn't just about me. It was about inspiring others to heal, to grow, and to create a better future for themselves. I often think about that night in the garage, staring at the cracks in the ceiling, wondering how I had let things get so far. I remember the despair, the anger, the crushing weight of guilt. But I also remember the moment I decided to choose myself. The moment I signed the lease, hired the movers, and walked away from the toxic dynamic that had held me captive for so long. That decision, however difficult, was the catalyst for everything that followed. It was the first step on a long and arduous journey, but it was the most important step of all. I still carry the scars of my past, but they no longer define me. They are a reminder of my strength, my resilience, and my ability to heal. I am Clara. I am a survivor, and I am finally, completely free. My worth is measured by how well I fill my own cup first, and my cup right now overflows.